My family betrayed me to break up my engagement. But when I uncovered their true motives, it shattered everything I believed about love and loyalty. I never thought the people I trusted the most, the ones who had raised me, supported me, and shaped my world, would be the same ones to betray me. If someone had told me months ago that my mother, my sister, and my best friend would conspire against me, I would have laughed in their face. But the thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It comes from the ones who claim to love you the most. I should have seen the signs. They weren't exactly subtle, but I had been too blind, too caught up in the joy of my engagement, to notice the shifting undertones in my family's words and actions. My fiancée, Yang, was a woman I had always dreamed of, brilliant, compassionate, beautiful, and someone who saw the world in a way that made me want to be better every day. She was everything I had ever wanted in a partner, but to my family, she was an outsider. It started small, offhand comments, subtle jabs disguised as jokes. My mother would say things like, "Lisa used to love this dish," whenever I brought Yang over for dinner. My sister would post old pictures of me and my ex, Lisa, on social media with nostalgic captions like, "The good old days." And Jess, my best friend, would casually remind me of how much fun I used to have when I was with Lisa, as if my life had somehow taken a turn for the worse. Lisa had been my high school sweetheart. We had a solid, drama-free relationship for a few years, but we had parted ways amicably when our goals no longer aligned. She wanted to settle down in our hometown, and I wanted to explore the world. There was no bitterness, no unresolved feelings, at least not on my end. But my family, they had adored her, and apparently, they had never quite let go. When I introduced them to Yang, their reactions were polite but distant. There was an invisible wall between them, an unspoken disapproval that I couldn't quite put my finger on at first. My mother asked Yang overly invasive questions about her family's background, her traditions, and whether she planned to adapt to our way of life. My sister's smile never quite reached her eyes when she interacted with Yang, and Jess was the worst of them all. Jess had been my closest friend since childhood. She had always been outspoken, bold, and fiercely protective of me. At first, I thought she just had a hard time warming up to Yang, but the more time passed, the clearer it became that her issue wasn't about my fiancé's personality. It was about who she was. The final straw came one evening when my mother invited me over for dinner. She had insisted it was just a casual meal, a chance to catch up. I had no reason to suspect anything. But the moment I stepped into the living room and saw my mother, my sister, and Jess sitting in a tense semicircle, I felt an unsettling shift in the air. Something was wrong. "What's going on?" I asked, glancing at each of them. My mother sighed, placing a gentle hand on my arm. "Sit down, sweetheart. We need to talk." I hesitated, my stomach twisting into a knot, but I did as she asked. The moment I was seated, Jess leaned forward, her expression unusually serious. "We just want to have an honest conversation about your future," she said. I frowned. "What do you mean?" My sister spoke up next. "We're worried about you, about the choices you're making." "What choices?" I asked, my patience thinning. My mother exhaled deeply. "It's about Yang." There it was. The invisible tension in the room suddenly felt suffocating. My hands curled into fists as I fought to stay calm. "What about Yang?" I asked through gritted teeth. Jess didn't hold back. "She's not right for you." I scoffed. "And what exactly makes you the expert on who's right for me?" My mother's grip on my arm tightened. "Please don't be defensive. Just listen to us." My sister leaned in. "We're your family. We know you better than anyone. We've been with you through everything, and we can see things that you might not be able to." I shook my head in disbelief. "So, let me get this straight. You all got together, decided you don't like my fiancé, and now you think you have the right to tell me who I should be with?" Jess sighed. "It's not just that, okay? We're looking out for you. Yang, she's different." There it was. The word different hung in the air like a loaded gun. I felt my chest tighten. "Different," I repeated coldly. "Because she's Chinese?" No one answered. My mother looked away. My sister bit her lip, and Jess had the audacity to look frustrated, like I was the one being difficult. I let out a bitter laugh. "Wow, so that's what this is about. You'd rather I be with Lisa because she's white, right? That's not fair, my sister muttered. No. What's not fair is the fact that my own family is trying to sabotage my relationship because of some outdated racist mindset. I snapped. Jess crossed her arms. It's not just about race. It's about culture. You and Yang come from completely different backgrounds. It's going to be hard for her to fit in with us. And it's going to be hard for you to fit in with her family. We just don't want you to struggle. My mother nodded. Marriage is about compatibility. You and Lisa, you are always so in sync. Yang is from a different world. It's going to be difficult. And we don't want to see you get hurt. My blood was boiling now. You know what's difficult? Sitting here and listening to the people I love tear down the woman I want to spend my life with. You think you're protecting me, but you're not. You're trying to control me. Jess reached for my hand, but I pulled away. We just want what's best for you, she whispered. I stood up so fast that the chair scraped against the floor. No, you want what's best for you. You want me to live the life you envisioned for me, not the life I chose for myself. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Please, sweetheart, don't shut us out. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. You already shut me out the moment you decided Yang wasn't good enough for me. If you can't accept the woman I love, then you don't accept me. Silence. I shook my head, the weight of their betrayal crushing me. I need some space. Then, without another word, I walked out the door, leaving behind the people I had once trusted the most. As I drove home that night, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions, anger, hurt, disbelief. But above all, one thought echoed in my head over and over. If my own family couldn't accept the woman I loved, did they truly love me at all? Asterisk, asterisk. The tension in the room was suffocating. Yang sat across from me at our small dining table, her fingers absent-mindedly tracing the rim of her coffee cup. The echoes of my mother's voice from the previous confrontation still rang in my head. Her insistence that Lisa was better for me. The subtle but unmistakable way she dismissed Yang as an outsider. I clenched my fists, trying to shake off the frustration that had settled deep in my bones. I don't want this to ruin us, Yang finally said, her voice softer than usual. I looked up at her, searching for any hint of resentment, but all I saw was patience. The same patience she had shown me time and time again when my family had tested her. It won't, I promised, though even I wasn't sure if that was the truth. But I need to figure out what to do next. She nodded but didn't press. That was one of the things I loved about her. She never forced me into making decisions before I was ready. Still, the weight of it all was unbearable. My own mother, my sister, and Jess, one of my closest friends, had schemed against me, believing they had the right to dictate who I loved. And for what? Because Yang didn't fit their expectations? Because Lisa, my ex, was someone they had been comfortable with? I pulled out my phone and stared at the messages from my mother. She had sent a few since our argument. Some apologizing, some trying to justify her actions. Mom asterisk, I just want what's best for you. Mom asterisk asterisk just had no bad intentions. She was just looking out for you. Asterisk. Mom asterisk asterisk, can we talk? Please. Asterisk. I locked my phone without responding. Over the next few days, I tried to focus on work, but my mind was clouded. I barely touched my food. Yang noticed. She always did. You should talk to them, she said one night as we lay in bed, the dim glow of the bedside lamp casting soft shadows on the walls. They don't deserve that, I muttered. She turned onto her side, facing me. Maybe not, but do you want to carry this forever? I sighed, staring at the ceiling. She had a point. As much as I was hurt, I couldn't pretend they didn't exist. And a part of me needed answers, real answers, not just empty apologies. So, after much hesitation, I called my mother and agreed to meet. The confrontation. The following Saturday, I found myself sitting in my childhood home, the air thick with unspoken words. My mother, sister, and Jess sat across from me, looking uneasy. I'm listening, I said, crossing my arms. Start talking. Jess shifted uncomfortably before speaking. We never meant to hurt you, she began, her tone cautious. We thought you weren't thinking clearly. I raised an eyebrow. Because I chose Yang? Because Lisa was a better fit? My sister chimed in. I cut her off with a sharp glare. She was what? White? Familiar? Not different? They all flinched. No, that's not what we meant. My mom interjected quickly. It's just, your lives were already set up together. You and Lisa had a history. We thought you might still have feelings for her. I scoffed. That's not for you to decide. Just exhaled, rubbing her temples. Look, your mom was scared. She thought if you married Yang, she wouldn't be able to connect with her, with your future kids. My patience snapped. So you'd rather I be with someone I don't love just because it's easier for you? Silence. Then my mother's voice, quiet but firm, just told us she saw you and Lisa talking a few months ago. I blinked. What? Jess nodded. At a cafe. You looked happy. I searched my memory and then laughed bitterly. That was a 5-minute conversation. Lisa was in town and we ran into each other. That's it. But you smiled at her, Jess pushed. I stared at her in disbelief. Are you listening to yourself? That's all it took for you to decide I should leave Yang. None of them had an answer. A hard truth. The conversation dragged on, and though they apologized over and over, I wasn't sure I believed them. Yang, however, had a different approach. Let's invite them over, she suggested later that evening. I stared at her like she had lost her mind. Why the hell would we do that? To clear the air? They don't deserve that. She reached for my hand. Maybe not, but we deserve peace. So, reluctantly, I agreed. The next weekend, my mother and sister came over. Jess refused, saying she needed space. Yang prepared a traditional Chinese meal, a quiet but firm statement that she wouldn't change who she was to fit their expectations. When they arrived, there was an awkward silence. But then Yang smiled and gestured for them to sit. The conversation started cautiously. My mother repeated her apologies, this time with tears. My sister admitted she had let Jess influence her. I was scared of change, my mom confessed, staring at her hands. I just want to be part of your life. I don't want to lose you. Yang spoke then. I understand. My mother blinked, surprised. You do? Yang nodded. My parents weren't thrilled about me dating someone outside of our culture, either. They worried about misunderstandings. But they got to know him, and now they love him. My mother swallowed hard. I'd like to try, to get to know you better. I remained cautious, but allowed myself a sliver of hope. This is your last chance. I warned. She nodded. I know. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe, just maybe, things could heal. But then, just as I started to believe that my family had learned their lesson, something unexpected happened. A few days later, I received a message from Lisa. Lisa asterisk K. I think you should know something about Jess. Asterisk. My stomach twisted. What now? I took a deep breath and opened the message, bracing myself for whatever truth was about to be revealed. I had no idea that what I was about to read would change everything. The moment I saw Lisa's name pop up on my phone, I felt my chest tighten. I hadn't spoken to her since the brief encounter at the cafe, the one my family had blown wildly out of proportion. Now, after everything, she was reaching out? I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the screen, then finally opened the message. Lisa, hey, I think you should know something about Jess. I stared at the words, my heart pounding in my ears. Jess? What else could possibly be left to uncover? I took a deep breath and replied. Me, what is it? Asterisk. A few seconds later, the typing bubbles appeared. Lisa, I wasn't going to say anything, but after what happened with your family, I feel like you deserve to know. Jess came to see me a few months ago. She told me you still had feelings for me. I felt the blood drain from my face. Me, what? Lisa, she said Yang wasn't right for you, that you were making a mistake, that if I ever want to try again, I should reach out to you. I read and reread her words, unable to fully process what I was seeing. Jess, the friend I had trusted for years, had been scheming behind my back even before the confrontation with my family. And she had gone to Lisa? My hands tightened into fists. Me asterisk, why didn't you tell me? Lisa. I didn't believe her. You moved on, and I respect that. But I thought maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just Jess acting alone. But when I heard what your mom and sister did, I realized she must have influenced them too. Asterisk. The pieces were clicking together too fast for me to keep up. Jess hadn't just manipulated my family. She had planted the idea that I should leave Yang long before my mom and sister ever got involved. I clenched my jaw, my anger simmering beneath the surface. I had given Jess the benefit of the doubt. I had sat in front of her and listened to her claim she was just looking out for me. And the entire time, she had been orchestrating this entire mess. I turned to Yang, who was sitting beside me on the couch, flipping through a book. She must have noticed my expression, because she immediately set it down. "What's wrong?" she asked. I exhaled sharply. Jess went to Lisa before any of this happened. She tried to get her to take me back. Yang blinked, then sat up straighter. "What?" I passed her my phone, watching as her face hardened while she read the messages. When she looked back up at me, her lips were pressed together. "So it wasn't just your mom and sister?" "No," I muttered. Jess started this whole thing. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I could see the hurt in Yang's eyes, and it made my stomach churn. She had already endured enough. She didn't deserve this. "Are you going to confront her?" she finally asked. I nodded. "I have to." I messaged Jess and asked to meet. I didn't give her details, just told her it was important. When I arrived at the cafe, she was already sitting at a table, looking nervous. "Hey," she said cautiously as I sat down. I wasted no time. "Lisa told me everything." Jess flinched. "What do you mean?" I narrowed my eyes. "She told me you went to her behind my back, that you tried to convince her to get back together with me, that you started this whole thing before my family ever got involved." Her face paled. I was just trying to help you." "Help me?" I scoffed. "By interfering in my life? By lying to Lisa? By convincing my family to turn against Yang?" Jess looked away. "I wasn't lying. I thought you still had feeling for Lisa." I shook my head in disbelief. "No, you wanted me to still have feelings for her. You convinced yourself that Yang wasn't right for me because it didn't fit your idea of how my life should be." She swallowed hard. I held up a hand, cutting her off. "You don't get to talk your way out of this. You betrayed my trust. You manipulated my family. And you did it all while pretending you were looking out for me." Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "But it did," I said, my voice firm. "And I can't trust you anymore." She stared at me, her face crumbling. "So that's it." I exhaled sharply. "You made your choice, Jess. Now I'm making mine." I stood up, leaving her sitting there, her shoulders shaking as silent tears fell. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. When I got home, I told Yang everything. She listened, her expression unreadable, until I was finished. Then she reached for my hand. "Are you okay?" I thought about it for a moment. Then I nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." The next few weeks were different. My mother and sister made more of an effort to include Yang in conversations. They apologized again, this time with real sincerity. I wasn't naive enough to believe that everything was magically fixed, but it was a step in the right direction. Jess, on the other hand, was gone from my life. She sent me a few messages, but I never responded. I wasn't interested in reopening that door. Lisa and I never spoke again either, but I was grateful that she had told me the truth. And as for Yang and me, we moved forward. One evening, as we sat on our balcony watching the city lights, she turned to me with a soft smile. "Do you regret any of this?" I shook my head. "No, because despite the pain, despite the betrayal, I had chosen the person who truly made me happy. And I wouldn't change that for anything." A year later, Yang and I got married. My mother and sister were there, standing beside us, not just as family, but as people who had grown. As I stood at the altar, looking at the woman I loved, I realized something. Love isn't about what makes other people comfortable. It's about choosing the person who makes you feel whole. and I had made the right choice.